Hello, everybody. Welcome, friendly faces. As per usual, we'll get started here in a couple minutes. But if you got questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Thank you for joining, all that good stuff. We will work our way through it. We've got a number of people hosting this week. Very rare, four-person week. So looking forward to the rest of the week. But for now, I see more and more folks are joining. Awesome. Super appreciative you took time out of your day to come on in. Um, yeah, if you got questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We start putting some eyes on it. We got a couple people on this side of the line. We got a couple people on that side of the line. So, if you have questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat or QA. We can start putting some eyes on them. But again, we'll probably actually get started here around 12:03 in that world. Just give people kind of a few moments to trickle in. But if you got questions, I'd love to go ahead and start putting my eyes on it. So it's not, oh, there's one in the chat already. Thank you very much. You submitted your question in advance. No problem at all. Was it through the email, the training email, or did you submit it on the form? The form. Got it. Thank you so much. I'll pull it up right now. Appreciate that information. Oh, wrong tab here. Cool, cool, cool. I see more and more folk are joining. Everyone that's in here knows the spiel, but just give it to you quick anyways, We'll get started here in about 2 minutes or so. We'll start with Helmut's question. Helmut, you are just to confirm because we got a number of responses on here. The question was related to the file name and file references. You hit me with a cool, no problem at all. We'll get started there. And for everybody joining, thank you guys. I know that everyone in here is somewhat of a familiar face, but I'm Robert. I'll go ahead and add my name to the thing so you know who you're speaking with here. Robert, boom. All right. Hey, so we're going to get started here. We got a number of people in here, familiar faces. My name is Robert, like I said. Everyone in here has been in here before, so I'm not going to give you the full multi-minute spiel here, but just a thing to be aware of if you are watching. We do post all these on YouTube as well as additional content. We've been hammering that out. That's QR code on the top right. If you can't scan a QR code from your computer, if you just type in decision support, um, YouTube, something along those lines, it will show up. And like I said, we've been kind of working diligently at adding content here. The bottom right is the solutions marketplace on here. So this QR code essentially is a internet version of in Decisions. We have this app store. We have new stuff coming out all the time. I'm actually working on um, some material for a new one that's going to come out in the coming days. So just be aware that that's kind of a, a build out. You can take a look at kind of the plumbing of these, see how they're built, or you can just implement them in and just kind of reduce some friction to deployment. If you know, hey, we're going to be doing X, Y, and Z. We're going to be, doing a lot of email templates. You can download the generator, either see how it was built or just start kind of implementing it right away. So the question, I'll put it in the chat for everybody so everybody can read it. But the question is something in this world. So, um, yeah. Can you demonstrate the preferred way to change the file name of a file reference file? And then Wade, I got yours as well, so we'll look at that one next. Can you demonstrate the preferred way to change the file name of a file reference file? That is a good question. Um, I'm not too sure. Let's my first thought is I'm gonna go look at documentation real quick. Um, I'm not sure what the implications of it is as well, especially if you have stuff that's already in flight. Um, documentation.decisions.com. If you already have stuff in flight and then you change that file name, I'm not too sure. Um, I did also kind of ask in our channel here. Pull this over because that's a link that I was sent. Change the file reference entity within a flow. You typically need to manage the file reference entity. Yeah, yeah, I'd love that. Yes, thank you, Helmet, for even asking. That's very nice. Yeah, Helmet, if you want to add more uh, context, that'd be great.
Yeah. So I have a flow that takes a bunch of information from a data structure and then uses the insert into PDF step to then create kind of like a PDF of it, right?
Hmm.
And then I combine that with some other PDFs and I save that, and that comes out of the PDF combiner step as a file data, right? Then I take that file data, I use a converter to convert it to file reference, and then I'm trying to then change the file name on that, file reference that I just created, so that when I send it on an email as an attachment, there it's clear what the attachment is. And so I've tried to use the rename file step a couple times, and I get an error. I've
Are
tried to
you
use
are you converting file data to file reference using the load from this one?
yeah, I'm using
Load from file data?
I'm using a converter that is just that step to load from file data.
Okay.
Um,
My first thing that I'm initially looking at is on this step. If you go to expose properties, it should give you the option to put in a file name on your output.
oh, where is this? So
So if you go
that's the
load from file, that's the load from file data step.
uh-huh.
If you go to the outputs and expose properties, you should be able to add like I can run a test here on mine because I have
Oh, so when it's being converted from file data to file reference, there's this possibility to expose the properties and put something specific in there, maybe.
yeah, and but you want to do it later.
Well, I could just change the location of the converter. Right now, I'm changing it as it comes out of the flow, right? It's kind of the output of a subflow, and so I'm doing the conversion there. But I could easily output it as a file data, run this, and do the conversion there. But no, that would be helpful, I think. Let me see if that's available for me. Is this exposed properties a
Nope, it's been
version
around.
9? Okay, it's been around. Cool.
I might have to just do a little bit. Load all files with extension output. That's what I called this. Expose properties, file name, rename. Trying to remember. I built this a couple weeks ago, so I'm trying to remember what I named all these outputs. Okay, so we called this watermarked PDF as a file data. Watermarked PDF as file data. Let's see if this works and see if I can just get and rather than downloading it. File reference. We're trying to get file reference here. Output, file reference. We're exposing the properties. Or maybe it's on the inputs here. Maybe that's the way. Let me try that first, actually. Now that I'm kind of doing
Okay.
a little bit of building here. So file data, like if I expose the properties on this, it's going to pass out a list of byte called contents. I'm kind of going to
Mm-hmm.
ignore that for now. I'm actually going to close out of this and don't save and come back into it. So we're passing out here file data, which contains bytes. So then on here, rather than trying this, let's see if this works any better. File reference conversion, do it on the inputs. I could build data, show those package contents. I can select from flow here, find that watermarked PDF as its contents, change the file name here to a constant.
Ah, I see.
Maybe. I'm still testing.
As an input to the, gotcha.
And then the URL here should be a file reference conversion file URL. So I have this set up as an Inform session, just to download this file. So it opens a URL. I feed it the URL of the file reference. I download it. Um, that's all this is doing. I could put a document viewer or something there as well, but
Right.
this was just an old project talking about file reference steps. I don't know if I have anything in that folder anymore. Oh, nice, I do. Sure. Grab a random fake Sprint thing. This is all fake data. Don't think I'm showing real stuff here. Watermark. All right, let's see. Again, I kind of forgot what this flow does. I just know that I was utilizing a similar kind of methodology here. Inform session. Did it download? I'm looking at my downloads right now. So it did not change it here on the output of that step. Output. So that's PDF. Oh, yeah, it did. It changed it right there.
Okay. And I
So,
guess I just need it to change like in session. So,
you said in session?
well, I save it to a data structure in session, so I don't like
I could probably do that. I could probably wrap that up.
yeah.
So you're saving it into a structure.
Yeah, and I understand that part of it. I just was, yeah, I was running into issues with the converter and stuff, but I think your strategy of doing the load from file um after that'll work better, I think.
Let me see if I can just pop it into a folder here. Make sure. I mean, it says it worked, but I don't want to like be like, oh, it worked. But yeah, so you can, like I said, build data. Like I'm sure you saw it, but I just built data on the input of file data, put a new file name, and then took the contents of the. Sorry, yeah, took the contents of the file data, and then this one converts file data into file reference. So on the
Right.
input there, I took and just kind of manually mapped in that. Um,
And I think I like that option anyway. It gives me a little bit more control. So
yeah. No, I'm trying to remember. What is the structure type for reference here? I don't think this is right, but I think I can just at least manually jam this in. Try one more second here, and if not, we'll just kind of run on here. All right, so I'm putting in this random folder here. Extension data. Do I have anything that has file reference on it? No. Yeah, I would try that first, and then if you have any more issues with it, like I can just feel free to email us at traindecisions.com, and I can definitely finish out this process. I just kind of want to roll on to another question if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course. No, that was a good idea. I appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. Right on. And thank you guys, everybody, for your patience and all that stuff too. So I got another question. For the fetch entity step, what does fetch edit copy of entity do? That is a good question. Let's see if I can find that one for you too. So for context for everybody, the question is for the fetch entity step, what does fetch edit copy of entity do? Fetch edit copy. See if we're getting anything here. Fetch edit. So probably in our database. Retrieves a cached copy of the object for the flow to manipulate. This is going to allow you to work with an editable version of the entity within your flow. I'm not super sure of the context. Gregory, do you know what that is by any chance? Any context? I know you have a little more.
Um, Mainly not on this one. I haven't seen a customer use this particular property before.
Yeah, on our side documentation, I'll unmute you as well. Ways so you can, if you want to add some context of what you're trying to do, and maybe we can fill in the gaps of whether that's actually the use case. I mean, that might help. I unmuted you if you want to give some context, but I typed into like another version of our documentation, and it's basically saying that it allows you to work with an editable version of the entity within your workflow.
Yeah, I was testing around with it, and I was like, I didn't see that it really did much of anything as far as like mattered because I as a test I hit fetch entities.
Yeah.
I left it off. I unchecked that box, which I think it defaults unchecked, and then set a value, then just hit save entities. And I was like, and it didn't matter whether it's checked or unchecked. So I was like, is that where it matters if it's checked or unchecked, or like when would that matter if it was checked, or am I going through the process of retrieving an entity and changing it, then saving it wrong? Should I be doing it, this way where I check this box and I do something afterwards that would actually save it if I'm caching the entity itself?
Maybe I missed a little bit of the context there. So you're fetching the entity and you're using save entities currently?
Yeah, that was just
Yeah.
one example. Yeah, I fetch entities. You set a value within one of the entities that you fetched, and then you just hit save with the input of that entity that you changed.
Yeah, that would work.
But
That's a good way to do it.
what what would be the purpose of checking that box?
Yeah, that's what I'm actually looking on our internal sources here. Fetch
Okay.
edit copy settings. There's some I haven't seen much of it. The fetch edit copy of entity setting, but the data is still saving to the cache. Yeah, Mike, the more I'm reading here just about like so I'm looking up on our like internal like side where people, have architectural build questions, and all of the context I'm seeing around this has to do with um so that you can make changes in your flow, but it's not going to save to the cache. That's like what everyone's basically like. Basically the context of some of these examples are, I suggested they enable the fetch edit copy of entity setting, so that the data does not save to the cache. Like it's something in that world. But this is one of those that for sure, 100%, I can just go talk with someone here in a couple minutes or as soon as this is over and just reach back out to you with a quick description of what the actual use case of that might be.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. Because I'm seeing a number of, like when I type it in on our side, like a number of uses of it. But out of context, I don't want to give you the wrong information. And again, this is essentially what I'm reading, but essentially that the flow, you can manipulate it in the flow and it won't save back. So you can go in and make changes and then utilize it in the flow, but it's not saving back in any kind of capacity. Or it like change it. My guess is it probably changes the naming convention so that if you go to save entities, it'll make a new record with the updated naming, like an edited copy of it. Anyone else in the chat, even on the customer side, if you've got some context on that, I know that there's smart folk in here that know what the fetch edit copy of entity. I'll take
I
any.
do want to mention as far as the save entity step, it shouldn't affect whatever entities you're pulling should not have any bearing on the save entity step because you can build data from that. You can insert whatever you want. The idea is that it's a type of data structure that you're saving, to the entities that would match the ID that you're passing in. So that really won't matter based on how you got that information in the first place. Checking that box should have no bearing on you being able to save entities one way or another.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was seeing, and I was like, so what is the purpose of this box?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that'd be
yeah,
expected. Like you could take
Right.
information from a form, first name, last name, put in 2 fields in your save entity and it'll do it. You didn't
Right.
fetch the entity, you just create it on the spot.
Right. Yeah. In this case, yeah, I'm pulling all the current fields and the current ID and everything. Yeah, just hitting save on it.
Right. Yeah, we can look into what this step does, but as far as actually using any save or update or selective update, that should have no bearing on what you're fetching from this unless the ID is altered where you're saving it. It won't
Okay.
affect what you're saving.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to am I adding extra steps? Should I be using this? Is there like a hidden feature, as such, like that I could be using this with or something? But yeah, more context would be great.
Yeah, and I'll type it out to you later, and I'll get double up. I actually saw someone with more robust build knowledge than me walking by, and I asked him while Greg was filling in. So he said it's very rarely used. Essentially, when you're using fetch entities, you'll have to go through and use either selective update or save the entities. But with the fetch edit copy of entity, it allows you to, in the flow, I guess through some use of it, I'll have to do a little more research, but it allows you to save them in bulk a lot easier without having to go through a save entities or a selective update. It allows you to kind of do like a bulk update of multiple entities in one way, but I'll have to just do a build out on my end and then probably just send you some screenshots so I get the full peripheral area of that description. But they were saying it's very, very rarely used, and it's mainly used so that you don't have to do a bunch of selective updates or save entities in multiple iterations to save multiple iterations of an entity that you're fetching. But it's just it's not very rarely used. So
Gotcha. Okay.
But
Well,
I'll
at
do
least I know
some-
that part, that it's not much used because I don't much use it, and I was like, oh, maybe I should be. I don't know, but okay.
Yeah. I talked to one of the it was the head of like solutions engineering. So like it's people that spend full time building here. I just saw him walking by with some food and I was like, hey, what does this do? So he said it's very rarely used. Generally speaking, you're always going to use selective update or save entities. But this allows you to, it's some iteration of a workaround of that process.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And I appreciate you with the good questions and all that. I appreciate everybody for joining. It's a nice, happy little Monday. So it's nice to get some questions. I'll take any other ones if you got them. Like I said, we got plenty of people on this side of the line. There's plenty of people walking by. I can ask folks that have questions. Feel free to let me know. And in the moment while we're waiting for that, I just want to see what the output of that thing change, how it changes the outputs. But if you got questions, I know we got a number of people in here. We got you know, a handful of people. If you got any kind of questions, no matter how big, no matter how small, feel free to let me know. And we can start kind of poking at it. Till then, I'm just going to check out what this setting does. Fetch and titles. Wow. Sick. Where is that? Is it a whole separate, is it a whole separate step? Oh, here to the left. Is it does anybody know, is it a whole separate step? It said
The
it's a,
property on the right, checkbox fetch edit copy. Is that what we're still on?
yeah.
Right
Oh, there
there.
it is. Okay. What happens to our output here? I guess we have to select a thing here. All right. So any results, list of family type. Interesting. Fetch edit copy of entity. No results. Turn that off. Still no results. Bad data structure. That's what you get for just picking a random one. I'll do a count. That's the way to do it. I know I got some accounts on this machine. All right. So let's turn this on and see what kind of outputs we're getting. See if anything brings some context to my world. Okay. So entity results, 58 items. That is interesting how it gives you all of these iterations, unless that's just a visual glitch. So it's 16 iterations of that same thing. We'll see if we turn this off, what happens. Still the same 16 results, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Yeah, not sure. We're gonna have to mess with. So, any other questions? Anybody else got anything? I can kind of just show some stuff off here for a couple minutes to kind of add some flavor to it. I've talked about this in the past, but I want to talk about it again because I think it's awesome. Um, with 9.3, which is brand new, I just made content on it on YouTube, but in 9.2 and below, not all the way below, but at least in 9.2, we had these OpenAI modules, right? So it looks like this over here, probably in this realm, once it loads right here. OpenAI, AI, oh, no, it's not that one. Apologies. The old one looks like this. This was the old one, OpenAI. So if you had a project that had this on it, it'll still work, no problem at all. But just, a cool convenient thing here is that with this AI Common, it will allow you, I remember doing this last week and couldn't find it either. And I had to look at the YouTube video I made, but it will allow you to, looking for AI settings here. There it is, under integrations. If you download Common AI module, as well as those other modules, it'll allow you to add AI defaults. So anytime that in a flow you use, let's say I have a flow over here, and again, that was under integrations. Let's say I have a flow and I use this step, right? This is just a create chat completion step, AI Common. Down here under AI, you have a number of them. So if you download Gemini, if you download Anthropic, if you download OpenAI, you have these chat completion steps, chat completion, chat completion, chat completion. And you can specify, hey, I only want to use this, or I only want to use Gemini, or I only want to use Anthropic, whatever you want to do. But a cool kind of feature is that with this, you can also go to Common and provide that same step, Common AI. And what that's going to allow you to do is, and again, you can change all this over here. You can override the default provider. But what it allows you to do is anywhere you have that common AI chat completion step, if you come back down here to integrations and you add the AI default, you can pick Anthropic, which model you want to do. As models get added, you can just swap on the fly, as well as you can go, okay, I maybe want to edit this and I want to see what the flow looks like rather than using Anthropic. I want to use OpenAI's chat completion in which model. And as long as you have the credits and the account is in good standing with those providers, which you'll have to set up. You can just swap on the fly, and as things get added, it's not a whole new like change your flow, add new steps, change the steps. It is just a simple kind of swap in settings. So there's that. Anybody got any more questions for me? I know we had some folks just join. I'll gladly take anything you got. If not, we'll kind of start to maybe work our way spinning down so I can see if I can figure out that fetch edit copy. But I know that if anybody's got any questions, feel free. Raise your hand, put it in the chat, put in the QA. Oh, there we go. I got one. So, sorry. Perfect. Hi. In the grid, which displays data, how can I add a button to each row to manipulate the row data? Okay. I'm assuming I'm assuming we're talking advanced data grid on a form or on a report.
Uh, I was thinking more like advanced data grid, right? Is that possible or not really?
We'll have to build it out. I'll gladly. Let's take a look and see if we can figure it out. Sometimes I got some form projects already built, but it doesn't look like it. Bruh. Forms. Make a new one. This is gonna be all my form stuff. Keep myself organized here. Look at that. Boom. Not even though you can put all that because it ain't all about it. We're just calling it forms. All right, so we want an advanced data grid with the ability to edit. What happens when you click that edit button? A new form pops up to.
Or what ideally want, yeah, maybe a new form, and it should update that record in the database. Or if even better would be to just make that row editable, if something like that is possible. I don't know. I don't want all the rows to become editable because we don't know what the users will do. We want to expose this form to the users eventually, right? So so ideally, I just want that row to become editable, and we should be in a position to save the data somewhere on click or something. So I was wondering what's the best way to achieve that.
Yeah, let's see what we can do here. Create a new form. I've obviously made this form before. The only problem here is with the. Which version are you on as well? That's a good question.
9.
Do you know which number? 9 point something? Just because I know on 9.3 they added a functionality to output changes only on advanced data grid. So I don't want to build too far in that direction if that's not the option that you're going to have.
I don't. It should be there in info, right?
Say it one more time.
The version should be in info, right? No.
The newest is 9.3. You're saying 8.4. You're in 8.4.
No. We are in 9.1.0.
Okay, 9.1.0. Okay. Let's go with that. Let's go with created on date or something like that here. All right. Now it's got to feed the information in here and make sure that it works. From my entity results, I fetch the entities. Let's see what we look like here. And then it's going to take a little bit of building. Okay. All right. So we don't want to be able to edit all the time. So we need to lock that functionality behind a button. So
Sorry, where did you get this add button? Oh, when you run the.
yeah, but we don't. I'm trying to think of Gregory. What was Jared saying about? I know flow inline fields are horrible and not should not be used for
it's
unperformant.
So run flow inline field is fine. That's going to give you the checkbox and or button or link to be able to do what you want. You'll also have to check display UI on this as well if you're going to pull up a form. There you go. And then I'm not sure how to change it from like a button from a link. I'm not sure what that involves. Maybe uncheck is both will
A
do the same
link is
thing.
fine as well.
Okay. We'll create the flow.
I mean, I think that should be fine. Oh, we need to create another flow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna close this out and see what it looks like for the end user. I'm kind of
Okay.
taking 2 steps and then taking 1 step back and seeing what I did, and then taking 2 steps, taking 1 step back and looking at what I did. Just 'cause I don't want to walk too far down the wrong road here. I know that flow's not going to do anything, but let's just see what it looks like. I guess that's not what I want. Now let's go back here. Let's adjust
I think
it.
we have to give it a name. I think that's why.
Cool.
Oh, we called it edit, title edit. That should.
Display text. There was no display text.
Ah, that's the problem.
Let's see what we got here. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Still making progress, I think. Love it. Okay, so now we got at least have links for a flow that does nothing. We are getting there. All right, so what do we want to do with this? So we want to make that thing editable. I do wonder here. All right, so now that I'm here, I do wonder what inputs I have. That's what I'm checking here. Okay, so it's giving me selected row. So if I in this flow of the report, it's giving me folder ID, page name, selected row, and page context ID. Okay. So I could use selected row potentially. Um, all right, so we're getting selected row. What can I do with that?
I might make a suggestion.
Of course,
So,
dude, please.
we can pull up a form, not the same form that we were doing before, but a different one that doesn't display all the entities, but we can just add a form that's going to display one of them, not an advanced data grid. So we'll probably have to make a new one for that.
Let's go, Greg.
Let's see if we can do some sort of drop-down text box, something like that. And we'll just call this account.
Of the type account,
Yes.
we might also be able to just feed in. What if we just made a text box and fed in the data? Made
That
just a
would work.
tiny form, feed in that data, and then as we come out of this, you have some type of save entities.
Exactly. We would use a fetch entities in this, get it where account ID matches the report ID. We just change the report to have a hidden field with the account ID. So the report that we're populating the advanced data grid with will have the account ID displaying but hidden. So that way we still get that report entity when we fetch it, right? And we'll match it with that column in the report with the cell value.
Yeah, I'm gonna need your help with this one for sure.
No worries, no worries.
Let's delete this too. Sorry, I'm kind of fumbling here. Created on date.
Perfect.
Add a button here that says
So we'll save that. That looks good. Looks better now.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of ugly for now, but
All right. We need to edit the report itself, and I'll show you what I mean on that. So we'll save this for a moment. We'll come back. We have to add account ID into the field because that's how we want to fetch this, right? By account ID. And then uncheck visible on the right. There we go. So let's save that, go back into our form. And we'll start with a fetch entity step. All right, all type account. Where fetch criteria account ID equals, and now we'll pick our selected row and we just got to get the right field. That's why I wanted to add that field to the report so we could match it. I sure hope that's the right field. But then we can output the entity results. We should only get one for each one, so yep.
um, that's just for now. We've taken about 5 steps. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 potentially.
There we go. Fetch the system account because you clicked on that one, right? Or did we
Yeah.
click on a different one?
No,
Yep.
we did. And then they could edit it here.
Yep.
Dang, this is slick. This is slick. I ain't even gonna lie. This is cool. All right, yeah, let's finish this out, man. That's cool, man. So if I were you, I would probably just turn off editing enabled on your data grid and only have it editable through that option. So like over here, um, you could probably just do info only, huh? Not editable. Okay. So now it's just a matter of in this form, in the report. So it's a flow and it's a form inside of a flow that has a report. And on that report, it has a flow. And on that flow, it has a form. It's like a Dr. Seuss riddle. Okay. So now we just need to not find a way to save it in an appropriate way. So we are outputting, would it be selective up? Well, I guess you can't selective update on a native structure. You could, so if you had a user defined structure, my advice would be to, are you using a user defined structure? Like,
Yeah, we'll
yeah.
be updating to the database finally. Yes.
Yeah, I personally would figure out whatever type it is. I don't know if I have any in this project. I almost certainly don't because this is a brand new project.
Mhm.
But let's just say like, let's make a quick one real quick. Sure, let's make it the quickest one I can possibly make here. Ooh, I don't know how to do that from an account though. We're kind of getting a little. Email. I know this is kind of. All right. So now we have this. Like, let's say hypothetically we replaced all this account stuff. we replaced all this account fetching with whatever structure you're using, right? So your structure might be called grocery list or whatever it is. Change it to grocery list here. And then in this world, you're going to change it the same way, grocery list. This would be entity ID rather than account ID. In your flow, again, you would also do the same one, grocery list here, or whatever it might be. So, and then when you're done, so you fetch it based on the entity ID. And then you can use selective update only on the done path, which I got the wrong one, of course. I had a 50-50 shot there. And you can run selective update on the save path. And you should be able to take the input of your entity ID. So again, this is going to output an entity ID, or because you're using a structure, not an account ID. You're going to map in the entity ID right there. And then for the data, you're going to map in the changes, and it will selectively update that back to the database for you. Is that helpful at all?
Oh, sure. So, one other question I had was when you had opened the form, like when you hit the click me, right? I can directly update it to the database, right? Like when once you they select the record, so I should have that somewhere, right? When
Yeah.
you
So
run this form,
so
the
this
selected row. How can I access that variable, the selected row, like the primary keys or whatever?
if you're in a so again, I'm on the advanced data grid. I use this called is it run flow inline, Greg? I always get mixed up, or run inline. Which one am I supposed to be using?
So it's a run flow inline field.
Run flow.
Inline flow field flow inline field is the one that is not performant. Run, the one that you have to manually run yourself, is the one that's okay.
So run flow inline. That'll give you the flow here. And then in this flow, that's where you get the option for selected row. Like, because like if I just put a random step here on the front end, show pop up, like there's nothing before this in the flow. So hypothetically, you should only have flow data, but you notice when I go here, selected row is an option.
Okay.
So it's
Okay,
like
good.
it's kind of like folder ID in a case entity. It just kind of comes with default. And then so we just said, again, I could change this to let's go ahead and do a build out. Even there's nothing in it. Let's say it's my test structure, and I could add a fetch criteria where the entity ID equals the selected rows.
Mhm.
There's only going to be one, right? Did I do that right? Let me think back here what I'm doing here. The entity ID is, selected rows. And our entity ID is field 4 on ours. So I'll backtrack a little bit here. See how account ID is right over here? It's hidden right now, but Greg had a good point. Like you add this account ID so that you have row 1, 2, 3, 4, and yours will be entity ID because you're using a structure, not an account. You can make it not visible so no one sees it, but in that flow on here, you'll have access to field 4 with that data associated with it. I'll just finish because I got a couple minutes here. Unless we had another question in the chat, I'll do this the right way. We can do this in about 2 minutes. Great data. So let's just say here, I'm going to run this a couple times to make a couple of these. Selective up, create test structure. There's a string. Let's pick something that'll be different every single time, like a start time or end time or something. It'll be slightly different every single time. All right, so now I just put some data in there. We're going to build it out. Perfect. I'm happy now. All right, back to the thing. Row editable advanced data grid. Now we're going to change this to my structure. On here, we got to change this as well. Hope I can still use that form that we made earlier, but. So again, you're going to use entity ID because you're using a different field here. I can make this no longer visible, but I know it's on field 4. So now in this world, we're fetching the test structure where the entity ID equals selected row field 4. And then on here, we should be able to go entity results, first or last. We're only getting one. Created on date. First email. And then we can run, the name of these outputs is adjusted. So that now we can take that on. What are we selectively updating? That entity results first entity ID. So it's getting the same entity. And then what are we updating? We want the email as it's been adjusted, and we want the created on date as it's been adjusted. So now, as long as I'm not going crazy, what's my validation here? The primary field for extension ID. I thought I filled that in. Do you know about this one? The extension ID there, Greg? Is there a field in here for that?
Is it entity ID, right?
Well,
What do we
I have an extension ID, so let's just try map it in.
select?
I thought it was entity ID, but it was giving me a validation saying you needed the extension ID.
I tend to put in both.
Yeah.
It seems to work fine there.
All right, here are my 2 emails. Can't edit them. Click make an edit. What's wrong here?
If you create a new one, did you hit show UI? on the run flow, the run flow field. Show UI checkbox.
Oh,
I've
man.
made that mistake way too many times. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So yeah, don't forget that. Yeah, man. All right, so there's my information. So I want to say, okay, Rob test 2. This is no longer Rob test 2. Rob working. I got faith that it will work. And I'm done. Wrong one. Rob working. So it updated it right there for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And if you're on version 9, I can just export this project and send it to you.
That'll be great if you can do that.
Yeah,
I
no problem at
will
all.
send you the.
Yep, nope, no problem at all. Cool. I got it on there and you'll have a YouTube video you can kind of follow along with. Any final questions? We got a couple minutes left. Thank you for that. And thank you for Greg for that. That was honestly really fun. That was like the most fun I've had building something in a couple days. So I appreciate it. It was very cool. Anything else? Any final wishes? Well, thank you guys very much for joining. If you got any more questions, feel free to reach out. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Jeremy's on. So thank you guys again for attending and taking the time out of your day. Appreciate you.